Hello viewers, and welcome to another edition of Spartan Showcase. I am your host, Andy Kiros, and today I welcome back Principal Mr. Rubin to the show.
Thanks, Andy.
So as you know, last week was Snowball Week for all the students, so how do you think the week went?
Yeah, overall pretty well. It's a busy week. It's always tough when you're transitioning back from vacation. I think, getting things organized before vacation and then stepping back in and hitting the ground running for a student organization is challenging, but overall I thought it went pretty well, ran smoothly.
And how did you like this week's spirit themes?
It's hard for me to tell. I'm just really glad that, unlike Mr. DeMeglio, I wore a red, white, and blue tie on Red, White, and Blue Day, and I wore an orange tie on Spirit Day. I want to point out for all the viewers that he was wearing a Northbridge maroon tie that day, I thought about giving him one of my extra orange ties because I always keep an extra one in the office, but figure that was such an egregious mistake, he needed to live with it.
Of course. And on Thursday, students participated in a Steal Your Heart kind of game. So can you explain how this game went?
Sort of. I mean, I understand that students were given the same color heart as some of their peers, and if they weren't allowed to talk to somebody with the same color heart, but nobody ever told me who won. So I think it seemed to be kind of fun. It was nice to see different kids, sort of participating in it in the hallway, but I don't know who won.
I can tell you that.
I would love to know. Are you allowed to tell who won? Maybe you'll tell me off air.
I'll tell you. Yeah.
Yeah, the viewers, that's what we call a tease.
Yeah. And recently, Uxbridge High School hosted the first ever National Honor Society Quiz Bowl. Can you explain to the viewers what this was all about?
Yeah, about a year ago, the principals, we meet together almost every month, and the principals in the Southern Worcester County League were trying to find a way to get students together from different schools for ways other than sports. And when I was a National Honor Society advisor, the league that I was a teacher, in which I was a teacher, we had this thing called Honor Bowl, and the schools would get together. It worked out kind of symmetrically for us because there were 9 schools in the league, so teams of 3 would compete at all times. And I think it's kind of nice. We're doing the same thing. I think 10 of the 12 member schools are participating, and it's an opportunity for us to see some different schools. So Uxbridge hosted Tantascwa and Grafton, and we played against Tantascwa, and then Uxbridge played against Grafton, and then Grafton played against Tantascwa. It was all here. It was trivia questions and bonus questions, and it was nice to have a little bit of an audience as well. And this week and moving forward, I know the other schools are hosting as well. So it was a nice way to bring some students together that don't ordinarily get to socialize or participate or compete. And there's no trophy or anything like that. It was just, for now, I think it was just let's pilot it and get it off the ground. And as somebody who had advised it, I sort of got elected the de facto commissioner, and here we are.
And you seem to enjoy, kind of hosting it.
Yeah, I liked hosting it. It was fun. I think it helped the other advisors. Grafton, Tantascwa, and actually the Millbury advisor came down as well. It helps them, I think, see sort of the format, and having been the only person in the entire conference who had either advised or participated in it before, it made a lot of sense for Uxbridge to get the first one off the ground.
And can you see Uxbridge hosting or participating in another one?
Oh yeah, I think the plan would be, actually, I think we're hopeful that we'll be able to have another one this year. Maybe not here, and have Uxbridge travel and see one of the other schools that, for example, in the first match, I think David Prouty was hosting Leicester and Auburn, and so maybe we'll go to, Quabog, and Millbury will come, so we'll get to see some different schools. I think it's a nice opportunity for the schools to build some camaraderie. And
do you envision any changes to the format?
I don't know. I mean, the format works. Yeah. The challenge is obviously having a threshold of questions that are challenging enough, but not cupcakes. I mean, you could very easily just pull out Trivial Pursuit Junior and go to town. But I think the format seems to work, and I think having different schools in attendance also works, and going to different places works, because it lets different students participate as members of the audience, or keeping score, or switching out who's actually competing.
And on another note, last week, or a couple weeks ago actually, yourself and all the government classes here at the high school visited the Massachusetts State House. So how was this trip?
For me, it was awesome. I hadn't been in the State House probably since I was a junior or senior in high school, so it had been a long time, and it was very neat to see it maybe through the eyes of being a student. I mean, being a chaperone on the trip for me, and you know, all the kudos go to Mr. Silbor and Ms. Bouchard for organizing it, and you know, it was really neat to kind of see students in a different light. It's one of the reasons why I like going to athletic events and activities, because you see students participating in the process of learning, not at Uxbridge High School. It was fabulous to hear from the tour guides and the State House staff that they felt like our group of students was one of the best they'd had, inquisitive and respectful and all of that. And you know, I think the other part of it was, you know, the relationship that we have with our own reps. I mean, you know, Representative Kuros, who I know you know pretty well, and Senator Fatman joining us, letting our students not only get to sit as part of an informal session of the House of Reps, but to get into the governor's ceremonial office because he was out of Boston for the day. Those are things that I hope our students realize, you know, somewhere down the line. It's not something every student gets to experience in 4 years of high school or even as a citizen. So to be able to sit in those chairs and, you know, to stand on the dais of the Massachusetts State House of Representatives and at the very podium that, you know, President Kennedy addressed the state of Massachusetts or the Commonwealth before he took office as president. It's really kind of one of those goosebump-inducing moments for a lot of people, such as myself. And I'm really, you know, thankful for the teachers for saying, hey, you know, if you want to get out of the office for a day and help us chaperone, and I was happy to make it work with my schedule. I think the students had a great time.
And would you be open to more academic field trips like this?
Yeah, I think the key to a field trip is that word, Andy. It's the word academic. When it connects to something that kids are doing in the classroom and it makes the learning real, then yes. You know, we've had a group of students that have gone off to Imperial Motors to learn about both career opportunities and how it links to our science and engineering program. We've had kids go out to some of the manufacturing companies in the region. Last year, I know there were some groups that, you know, did some work. They went up to Boston, participated on the Freedom Trail. As a former teacher, I remember taking my students who had read Hamlet in class to go see Hamlet, and it made it come to life as opposed to just this text of words that students were reading and maybe seeing a couple of snippets on a video. So in that regard, yes, and I think that the part of it that we have to be sensitive to and is, you know, anytime you pull kids away, it means you're pulling them away from another class, and that you know, sometimes causes some angst among other teachers. So finding that delicate balance is important because students remember those trips.
And that leads us right into our next question. So as an administrator, what are your thoughts on balancing students, you know, volunteer work and extracurricular activities with their attendance in class?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think one of the things that we try to do is provide both. You know, when we have students that are leaving to go for 2 or 3 days to Hyannis as part of student council, part of it validates the work they do, and we hope that they bring something back from that conference that can be put into place right here in Uxbridge. At the same time, we want them to realize that taking a day or two away means there's still work that needs to be done. So it's a fine line to walk. You know, one of the things that people have brought up is, you know, and I have said is, well, if we're going to let students out to go for this club or that club, where does the line get drawn? And so that's where we have to be just sensitive to what students need to do to get done. First and foremost, we're an academic institution. So if it's complementing the mission of our school, the mission of an organization, and it's not going to deter too much from that academic mission, then yeah, we do it. But I think at the same time, we have to be sensitive to people who see their students a little bit less because of our drop schedule and are worried, well, gee, if I lose kids for now 3 or 4 more days, you know, that has an impact when you add in snow days and you add in vacations and you add in the occasional flu bug that goes through a class. So we want to be sensitive. So is there a role? Is there a place? Absolutely. Do we have to be cautious and sometimes sensitive to the different needs of all the people in the building? Of course.
And do you have any updates on the doings of the school council?
Yeah, school council's been trucking along. We'll be we've been in the next couple months. We'll be seeing revisions to the student handbook, which isn't going to impact you. I'm going to try and mention every one of these shows as we get closer that Andy's getting closer and closer to his last show with me here on UCTV. Well, his last show as a student.
Correct. Yeah.
We'll have alumni edition maybe.
Of course.
So we'll be looking at the student handbook. This next month, we'll be looking at some of the graduation requirements and are there things that we think we want to tweak. We're looking at things like class rank and GPA and the relationship and how that affects our students as they apply for post-secondary school. And there are some other things that are just sort of in the business of business. Our school photography contract our agreement is going to be expiring soon, and we want to make sure we open our options and consider everything, including the people that we currently have. And we also want to solicit the opinions of our students and our parents for what they feel like they need. So those are all things that are coming. And one of the other things we're definitely doing with the student council, I think hopefully in April or May, will be getting together with the middle school to see how our school council and their school council can potentially work on some things together, particularly when we're facing some of the same challenges.
And you mentioned the program of studies. Just today, actually, students were handed next year's program of studies to where they can hopefully pick which classes they want. So how do you come up with such a thorough?
Last year was quite the process. I mean, in 2015-16, my first year here in Uxbridge, it was one of the goals of the school committee was actually to revise the program of studies, and it quickly became sort of our tour de force last year. And so this year it was a little bit more subtle. The changes that you're looking at are maybe some courses that need revision, some new partnerships with the community college that we're really excited about to enable students at Uxbridge High School to earn college credit while they are still students here. To take a look at different sequences. Our engineering program needed a third course in the sequence. We have a lot of kids that took Intro to Digital Photography this year. We wanted to add maybe a second or third year in that course. Looking at the TV video program and saying, okay, well, we have an introductory class, but as kids take that first course, how can they take the second and third, maybe potentially a third course, and build their skills so that they're doing more of the production end of things after they've learned sort of the basics and so the process this year of revising the program of studies was far more simple than last year. The key is options, the key is opportunities for kids, and the key is, for me, some flexibility. We want students, if they take care of business as 9th and 10th graders with their requirements, to have a lot of flexibility as seniors. And now we have students who, when they're seniors, if they've done well, realistically, they have to take an English, they have to take a math, and then the other 5 classes open up. I mean, they have to take a PE and they have certain graduation requirements, but for the most part, they have a lot of flexibility and a lot of opportunity to fit things in that are not just things they need, but things they want.
And going back to how students can now get college credits in high school, what's the teacher's side of that? So
our teachers become licensed essentially as adjuncts at the community college. They have to pass muster with the deans, and we're fortunate that a number of our teachers have already worked as adjuncts. So we don't have too much tension as far as getting our teachers approved, at least in a couple of disciplines. And that's the step we're at right now. Hopefully by May we'll have that all ironed out, and it'll help us determine who is actually going to teach those classes. So from a staffing standpoint, there's a no cost to us. The benefit to it is they'll be assigned mentors at the college, and I think it can only help us build relationships between secondary ed and higher ed as we move forward. And how many courses would you say would be eligible for college credits? Next year it's 2 classes, which is really 3. Intro to College Math, which is a 2-half course, is going to be Intro to College Algebra and Topics in Mathematics, which are Math 100 and Math 121 at the collegiate level. And our analytical writing class is shifting to become something called English Composition. So it's 9 credits, which for a student who's taking those courses, 9 credits plus there are some stipulations. They have to pass the AccuPlacer exam. That exam is the basic skills test that a kid needs to earn credit at the community college level, and there's a processing fee that they pay through the college, which is far less than the credits. And I think the goal would be the credits at a 4-year school, but I think the goal for us would be to look at this and kind of addressing the trajectory. Next year is 17, 18. I think our goal would be by 2020 or 2021 to have possibly 4 or 5 classes, and then kids are potentially walking out of here with up to 12 or 15 credits, which is a lot. It's really good. Yeah, it's a lot, especially if we can get some. We don't have really, and I shared this with our parents at our parent night with regard to program of studies. we don't have any sense yet, because we haven't run these, as to what the colleges outside of Quincy and the Massachusetts State College system are going to do with those courses. So for somebody who's applying to, say, Penn State, is the English composition class that they pass through the UMass system going to transfer to Pennsylvania? We don't know that yet. We won't know until we have students with that transcript applying.
Okay. So that's all for today's show. Thank you so much, Mr. Rubin, for your time.
Appreciate it, Andy, as always.
And I'd like to thank everyone on UC TV who made this production possible. And we'll see you next month on Spartan Showcase.